America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
I Build America.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Lane, and I'm here on I Build America podcast. I have the wonderful opportunity to interview and speak with two ladies that have just been a part of workforce development, youth services in the Delaware and Massachusetts area. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much.
So, Meghan, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I am the director of a youth division under a workforce board in the state of Massachusetts. We oversee WIOA and non-WIOA funded programs. So anything career exploration awareness that is out there in the state of Massachusetts falls under the Metro Southwest Youth Connections program.
Okay, tell our listeners, what does WIOA mean? What's that acronym? Because we have a lot of them.
Sure, yeah. WIOA stands for the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act.
Okay.
And its previous iteration was WIA for those old school listeners.
Yeah, I remember that. All right, Apryl, welcome.
Thanks.
So tell our listeners what you do, Apryl, in your capacity.
I currently work for a Habitat for Humanity affiliate in Sussex County, Delaware.
Yes.
Over the Healthy Homes Repair Program, I manage that. And as a side hustle, I still work in workforce development, writing apprenticeships and assisting with technical support at Job Corps.
That's an important side hustle there.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And we appreciate it. So let me ask you this. There is WIOA law, and then there's our Job Corps program. We've all been connected to the National Job Corps program. How do those two missions come together, would you say?
Oof, that's a tough question. I think there's...
Or maybe how does WIOA support the mission of Job Corps? Would that be a better way to frame that question?
I think with WIOA, Job Corps is a mandated partner, right, for every area.
Okay.
So it's built out to be that WIOA should be a proponent and a supporter of any Job Corps organization that's in the area. So I think there's that built in. Then I think it comes down to really what the local area under WIOA does and individualize those relationships and build out supports. So I think nationally, I was saying earlier that it's a little complicated because when you look at the budget, WIOA youth funding is separated out from Job Corps funding.
Yes, it is.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense because Job Corps is a WIOA program. So, I think there's some really positive things happening with mandating, Job Corps as a WIOA partner. I think there's work to be done in aligning WIOA youth programs and WIOA adult programs, quite frankly, with the Job Corps system.
Right. Well, thank you so much. In your experience, what role I heard you say you did some pre-apprentice work with companies and helping them. What role has the apprenticeship program played in some of those workforce development programs and Job Corps? Have you seen those two come together, intersect in these programs?
I think that I would consider all Job Corps programs to be pre-apprenticeship at this point, even if it's informal. You have the national training contractors like the unions, Home Builders Institute, et cetera, that have formal pre-apprenticeship programs that are supposed to be direct connects into apprenticeship. Knowing that credit can be awarded in an apprenticeship to shorten your time and start you at a higher rate of pay because of your pre-apprenticeship work, that's why that's so significant.
Yes.
And because really, funding is looming on the horizon around apprenticeship. So that's why that is so important. And also because we're developing America's workforce. That's really what we're doing. That's what it was all about.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned that Job Corps I like what you said, that Job Corps in essence is a pre-apprenticeship program. When you think about the skilled labor that we're teaching in our programs, how has Job Corps been able to make that transition? It was easy with HBI because they are pre-apprentice. But how do you do it for, let's say, culinary? How do we make that connection?
Well, organizations like the National Restaurant Association have a formal apprenticeship, in particular in management, in the culinary arts field.
All right.
And so for our students to go through a culinarian course, which is essentially what we do in Job Corps, and then maybe go into a management program through the National Restaurant Association, that's a great connect. And because we use those materials from the National Restaurant Association to provide certifications to our students at Job Corps, that's where the connect is. And that's why, our students are really well prepared to go right into that industry.
So how have you been able to bridge that gap? Because, I've been affiliated with Job Corps for quite some time, and I've never really put my pre-apprenticeship hat on with my culinary program or my CNA program, but it's a natural for me for my painting trade, So how are we going to change that thinking, that model, right, in Job Corps?
I think one of the key components of this is employer engagement. You need to have the buy-in. I think what's not discussed enough is how much our employer partners have to be bought into apprenticeship.
Okay.
And so with the unions, it's automatic. It's already built in. So that is like, I don't want to say the easy win, but it's just an easier transition to do that.
And people think apprenticeship hard trade.
Absolutely. But you can have an apprentice in doing what we do for a living. Anything can have an apprenticeship model to it, but you have to have the buy-in from the employer. So there's going to be a shift in the way that we do our employer engagement to really model out these other non-union apprenticeship programs.
So getting the employers involved, and
Absolutely.
Every Job Corps center has a industry council.
Yeah.
So I think helping that shift goes a long way from that.
And looking at other national models. So I think state by state, that's also, something that you have to look at and what's allowed and what's pushed for apprenticeship. But when you look at what other areas are doing under apprenticeship that fall outside of the union scope, they're being really creative and working with these companies that have large scale footprint in their area. And you can make these work, especially, and they want the younger workforce, as you said so beautifully. Like this, we're creating this future workforce, and it's to the betterment of these employers to buy into it now.
I agree with you 100%. Go ahead.
And if you take, for example, let's take healthcare, let's take medical assisting. Okay. It's a 2-year apprenticeship. So let's say students do 1 year in Job Corps and, in training and getting certified. Because the certifications we use in Job Corps are industry recognized credentials. Right. They actually count. They actually really do mean something. It's not just a word we use in Job Corps. It actually means something. So the time that they spend in Job Corps can be credited towards their first year of apprenticeship. So they literally will have to spend half the time in a healthcare apprenticeship.
Oh, we definitely have some marketing to do.
Yes.
With this, I just got excited. Like, oh my goodness. So, I'm going to stay with apprenticeship for a little while because I think we just hit a nugget that's truly important for Job Corps. So how do we take this kind of information? It seems, listening to you say it just seems like basic. Like, I'm like, how did I not see this? How do we roll this out to this national program that we're all affiliated with in some way? I mean, we hear about apprenticeship. We know that it's the administration's new program that they really want to roll it out. And even Apprenticeship Appreciation Week is coming up in April, right? I think it's in April. How do we shift from apprenticeship hard program to apprenticeship for everybody? How do we make that shift?
I think one thing we can do is also create and offer apprenticeships to our staff on the campuses.
Holy God.
This
is getting nervous.
This is getting exciting.
Yeah, any position is apprenticeable.
Yep.
So first of all, we could be models. The corporations could develop their own apprenticeships to train and upscale their own staff. And of course, because progressive wages are part of apprenticeship, that's incentivizing our staff. Right now, since we were almost shut down a year ago, we lost a lot of staff. We have to attract people to Job Corps that are going to care about our students, and incentivizing them through progressive wages and investment in education through apprenticeship is a way for contractors to get in the apprenticeship game, but also to become fully staffed at Job Corps.
Earlier I was talking to Roxanne Chin, Vice President with Bazell, and we were talking about how do we prepare the next generation of Job Corps leaders, and how do we keep it exciting for them? And so hearing you say, wait a minute, we're our own apprentices, that those are things that are exciting. I see a career pathway for those that work in the Job Corps industry, and it supports a person's own professional development. I think we need to just get off this podcast and go write policy.
We've been saying that all along. And it models to the students that not only are we putting this out there for you, but we believe in this and we're doing it ourselves. And like, isn't that the purpose of Job Corps, is modeling and mentoring? So if you're building it into your own organization, then you get more buy-in from the youth that like this model works, and progressive wages and all of the things, the credentials that fall along with it. You can then you get buy-in for the organization and you want to stay.
So this kind of leads to my next question on what are the key benefits of integrating apprenticeships models into Job Corps, which I think you guys are looking at my questions, for the opportunity of youth. I don't know if you recall, and I'm going to date myself a little here, when Job Corps had an advanced residential advisor program, So how do you take a model like that and create these pockets on our campuses, and even for you in youth services, that I guess the bigger question would be, how do we go from youth services to Job Corps programs where it's a seamless transition, is kind of the question that I'm asking.
It's a question that we ask all the time within our own office, truly, because I think for so often we all do very similar work, but we're so siloed. And again, I think that's where kind of, all these at the local level, but also at the national level, these conversations need to be happening of, we all get to be in the sandbox together for the betterment of our youth. And we need to stop all of this nonsense about it being so competitive. And like, we need to look at the life cycle of our young adults and what is going to best suit them. So just an easy example is, for one of my programs, you may come in and you're going to do an internship, and it's a paid internship to kind of be able to get your first, we're going to feel around this career in this field, right?
Right.
All right. So they really like it. Then we have the ability to enroll them in maybe what we have in the state of Massachusetts is CTI, which is the Career Technical Institute. So it's kind of a step into career training, in several different trades. Some have a pre-apprenticeship, some don't. But it's not enough to fully get you to the next level, but it's a good starting point.
Right.
From there, then they enroll into Job Corps. All of these entities should be talking of how do we create this? Yeah. How do we piece it together? And I think out live, it just comes down to really communicating and opening doors to have more conversations and consistency, because I think that's also the challenge too, is we all know staffing changes, and you build relationships with one person, that person leaves, and then everything that you've worked toward kind of goes out the door. So it needs to come from a top down, and the consistency of the communication.
Chime in, please.
I just also wanted to echo what she's saying about community-based organizations, or CBOs, like what she said about silos. Job Corps is the biggest silo ever, right? At this point, because we do not utilize the resources in the community that are at our fingertips, right? Let's take, for example, not just what you were just talking about, but something we always talk about Job Corps, but we have to do better with execute. Okay. Is helping students with daily living needs, like transportation. Right. Okay. That to me is maybe the biggest impediment to our students getting jobs in apprenticeship, just in the industry that they were trained in. Because if our students don't have a car, even if they've completed a pre-apprenticeship and have a union job waiting for them, or a job in a hospital, but they can't get there, what does all this work mean?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So one thing I want to put out in the universe.
Put it out, because I can't tell you have an idea.
Because our leisure time employment programs at Job Corps are not utilized enough. Our students should be working from day one when they get in Job Corps. It doesn't matter if they're working at the local McDonald's and training in healthcare. When they go,
it's kind of like being in college, and you got to
absolutely, because what that leisure time employment job is going to do over the tenure at Job Corps, okay, rather than just do a little 6-week work-based learning gig at the end, right, is going to get them enough money to potentially get a vehicle, or to get an apartment, or to get childcare, to pay for some of those things, Again, and getting them connected to community-based organizations. But in rural America, this is a huge issue because you do not have those resources like you have in the Boston area, things like that, So that's why if we are not creating these opportunities for leisure time employment from our students from day one and treating them like college students versus high school students.
That's a whole paradigm shift. Yeah. I'm listening to you and I'm getting excited because it is a paradigm shift on how we see it. And only until I said it's kind of like being in college and getting a part-time job, did that really resonate kind of in my head. And I think at times, even though all Job Corps centers have their industry councils and their community relations councils, I think as we begin to expand on our apprenticeship programs and requirements, we're going to have to find more innovative ways, like you said, utilizing the leisure time employment program that all Job Corps centers have to help students. So let me ask both of you this, and I'll pose this question to you first. What are, we mentioned the transportation as being a barrier. In the programs that you're currently working in, what are some of the barriers that you find that are similar within each program that as an organization, community-based organization, a Job Corps program, a WIOA provider, that we should come to the table and try to help correct, fix? So what would you see as a common deficiency? I'll use that word.
I think when we help students do career exploration, I'm not sure that we do the greatest job at that. Okay. And I'm just going to use, just based on what you said, let me just take the security trade. Okay. For example, right now we're in a world of possibilities with the expansion of DHS. Whether you think about, positively or negatively about that, it still creates opportunities for our security students.
Absolutely.
They can go in the police force. They can go into border patrol, any of those things. Right. But what happens a lot of times is the students come in, they go through career preparation or career exploration, and they say, okay, guess what? I want to go into security. This is what I want my career pathway to be. But what we fail to do is in some cases look at their juvenile records, which is pulled up by all the employers out there. And they may go through their whole training and they go out there and they can't get in the industry. They've wasted all this time. We have to do a much better job at directing students to what their capabilities are, not just what their wants are.
Right.
For a student that maybe has never had algebra, right, and maybe is testing very low in mathematics, we have to have an honest conversation with that young person about if they want to go into electrical wiring or go into HVAC, right? And it's not to say we're going to totally discourage them, but we have to keep it real with them.
Right.
About how many years this is going to look like for them, because they will not be able to get an apprenticeship or likely a job in those industries without having the requisite math.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to flip it and get to the heart piece of it.
Okay.
I think the population of our youth has changed dramatically over the last 10 years. And I think the bulk of the youth that participate in our programs have a lot of mental health needs. And not only are we incredibly inadequate to handle those situations as staff, but our programs are too. So I think that's an area where I think we need to lean in a little bit more about preparing our staff, which changes professional development in a great way. Creating programs within all of our organizations to handle that a little bit more. One of the things that we implemented is team mental health first aid training. We became instructors in it. And so it's not group therapy. It is a baseline of empowering young adults to feel like if there's ever a crisis in a friend's life, that they would know where to go, what resources to have. But I think our programs kind of, when they were created in one vein, but the youth don't work like that.
Right.
It's neither, quite frankly, even do our staff.
Right.
So, I think that evolution has to change too, as the population changes, and we're making sure that, that on all aspects we're prepared for that. And then I think then you have your retention rates, then go higher for both staff and for youth.
So are you seeing some of those challenges in the youth that you serve in some of your other workforce provider programs? Or
It's across the board.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is a common theme across. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes.
I do want to add to that. That is such an excellent idea. We were talking about that at dinner last night and also today at lunch. Our instructors, who are probably like career tech instructors, are probably some of the closest people to students, but they have absolutely no training in mental health to work with the students, you know?
Right.
I think the other piece is that we recognize in Job Corps that our students come from a place of trauma. All our students.
Right.
Yet we offer nothing in terms of counseling for them, formal counseling. We don't even partner with community organizations to provide that counseling.
Well, is that an operator? I'm going to pose this question. Is that an operator thing where we need to, as operators, become more involved in the outreach to find those community resources, you know? So I think that is, you know, kind of, we talk about training our staff, we talk about training our students, maybe at some point framing for the operators, hey, you know, this is what we need on our centers and we need your assistance in making those connections within our communities.
I'll push that a step further and say at a national level, I think there could be some work done connecting with, there are all these online providers.
Yeah.
So you don't, like, we all know waiting list to get in to see a therapist is long and vast. But at a national level, if you could partner with one of these large scale, like, you know, organizations
Docs or something.
BetterHelp, whatever. Any of those types of places that just were like, you know, would partner with Job Corps centers. And if we have this like immediate resource for our really good adults, then I think that would help. And it wouldn't be as much pressure on the operator to have to be able to do that. Right. That's a challenge for everyday people. So as an organization, it'd be even harder.
But I think it also emphasizes the nature of silos.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, and how we are siloed from CBOs.
Right.
You know what I mean? How CBOs are kind of siloed themselves, even from us, you know?
And contractor to contractor.
Right. Contractor breaking down
It's the nature of the business.
Yes. What we just learned today is we have to be all in all together. Right. We all have to work together or we're not going to make it.
So much more powerful when we're all together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. All right. You ready for some rapid fire questions?
Ready.
All right. Let me get them together. All right. One word that best describes workforce development.
Empowerment.
Exciting.
Nice. Okay. All right. This is a music challenge.
Okay.
All right.
Love it. Love these questions.
Eric Clapton or Joni Mitchell?
Ooh, Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell.
I like you too. What book would you recommend for leadership development?
The Giving Tree.
I like The Giving Tree.
Oh, leadership development. You know, I don't know if it's about leadership development. I kind of think it's about the world we're at, but I'm reading Octavia Butler's books now.
Which one are you on now?
Purple series. Yeah. The Talent.
Oh man, that is such a great. You see, I just got excited. That is a great book.
I feel like it's very applicable to where we are right now, and how we have to be resilient, and how we have to be leaders, and how we have to fight to build for ourselves.
Oh yeah, she was so ahead of her time.
Really,
that's a whole new podcast. That is a whole new podcast. Thank both of you so much. I enjoyed speaking with you, and to our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in to I Build America podcast.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.
I build America.